In this module, we're going to discuss one of my favorite features of Jabber for Windows, and that is visual voicemail. In this module, we're going to talk about the visual voicemail feature. I've said it before, I'll say it now, and I'll say it again a million times before this is over. I love visual voicemail. I just think this is one of the coolest things, and it really makes retrieving your voicemail messages fantastic. So, love me, hate me, whatever. I think this is awesome. So, we're going to demonstrate the visual voicemail feature and show you what it brings to the table when implemented in your environment. And I'm going to talk about some of the basic configuration steps for visual voicemail. You'll find out that this is really straightforward and really quick to set up in Unity Connection. So make sure when you're doing a Jabber deployment, you take the time, you do these couple of steps, and you set up visual voicemail. It is a completely optional integration. It's a completely optional feature, but trust me, set this up. Your users are going to love you for it. I've opened the Jabber for Windows client application, and you'll notice that previously the voice messages object was, just a plain blue circle. You see the one beside it now? That's indicating to me that I have a voicemail that has been unread waiting in my voicemail box, and that's going to be my introduction to you to visual voicemail capability. Now, I've taken my phone and I've done a call forward all to voicemail. It just makes testing this happen a little bit more quickly. But let me navigate here to the voice messages interface and show you what we get. And I have to say, this is one of my personal favorite features of Jabber for Windows, is the ability to do this visual voicemail. I mean, if you look back, 3, 4, 5 years ago, we were logging into voicemail, typing in a PIN number, hit and play, delete, next, etc. It was very serial in nature. Well, now with visual voicemail, we can see what's there, we can play it back, and it's just much more intuitive, I think. It's a lot easier to navigate. It's a lot more friendly. I can't tell you the last time I've logged in and listened to a voicemail, through the telephone user interface. It's all about visual voicemail these days. So you'll see that I've got an unread message, and I did this over my lunch break today. So at 12:35 p.m., I left myself a voicemail. It's 3 seconds. Let me go ahead and show you a little bit of information about this, and then we'll go ahead and we'll play it. If I right-click on it, you can see that callback 1005, you know where it came from, and you can see that anyway on the screen. We can edit it, if we wanted to dial something different. We can create a custom contact for this number. That's the pizza guy capability, and we haven't talked much about that in this course, but Jabber does have the ability to allow you to create custom contacts, and Cisco previously called that pizza guy capabilities, but we're not going to dive too deep into that. We can do a view profile if we had profile information for that. We can mark it as read. We can delete it. Or most importantly, we can play it. So let's go ahead and click on the play icon, and let's listen to that voicemail that I left myself, and I'll prove to you that this really works.
This is a test voicemail message. This is only a test.
So there you go. I've listened to the message. You'll notice that now that I've listened to the message, that little red 1 indicator that I had one unread message has gone away. Now, I can right-click on this and go back to mark is unread, and it'll reappear, or I can mark it as read and it'll disappear. And this is in synchronization with those message waiting indicator lights on the telephone as well. So that is what we're aiming for. This is the desired interface, or my desired interface for voicemail. Now, if you wanted to, you could click call voicemail and it would call the voicemail profile, and you could use that traditional interface. But me, I'm all about this visual voicemail. We'll go ahead and delete that message, and I'm going to walk you through the necessary steps to prepare your Unity Connection environment for visual voicemail. Let me walk you through a few things that you need to be aware of in order for this whole visual voicemail thing to work. So first and foremost, I want you to make sure that Unity Connection is LDAP integrated. And I can verify the LDAP configuration status under System Settings, LDAP. Just like Call Manager, if I go to LDAP Setup, you'll see that we have Enable Synchronizing from LDAP Server. Our LDAP server type is Microsoft Active Directory, and our LDAP attribute for the user ID is SAM account name. So again, this is very much a mirror of the configuration that you have previously done in the Call Manager. We can go to the LDAP directory configuration and hit Find, and you'll see that I've configured an LDAP configuration. I called it LDAP. I know that's a horribly descriptive name there, but it'll suit our purposes. Let's open that up and take a look at how it's configured. Just taking a minute here. Come on. There we go. So we've got a configuration name, a distinguished name, a password. We've got a user search base. I didn't define a custom filter on this one because I've only got a few accounts in the lab Active Directory environment, so there was no need to filter it down. This is just the same old traditional LDAP integration that you're used to. What's different, or I shouldn't say what's different, but one thing in addition to LDAP directory synchronization that you need to have running is LDAP authentication. Now, this is going to be key. We've got the web inbox for Unity connection, which is going to use this, but we're also going to use this as part of our visual voicemail. So you'll notice that I've got LDAP authentication for end users turned on, and again, the same distinguished name and password and user search base, and we defined the LDAP server. So again, the traditional LDAP configuration steps. So that's my step one. Step one, make sure Unity connection is configured with an LDAP directory and with LDAP authentication. The next thing I'm going to want you to do, and really this is probably the most important step, and it's the one that I tend to forget when I'm setting this up and I have to end up pulling the docs out and reading it and looking at it and seeing what I forgot, is all about class of service. So class of service, we've got the voicemail user class of service, and this is really, really easy. It's just easy to overlook. Under licensed features, I have activated the following checkbox. Allow users to access voicemail using an IMAP client and/or single inbox. And I've selected the option, allow IMAP users to access message bodies. That right there is the key to getting visual voicemail working. So number one, make sure authentication is working, so have all that LDAP stuff there. And number two, make sure that you've configured this so that we can use the IMAP client. Once you've done that, and assuming that you have configured appropriately in Call Manager the UC service for the mail store and for voicemail, that's all there is to it. You'll open up Jabber, you'll connect to Unity Connection, and that'll be that. You'll have your single inbox. Now, if I minimize my browser here and I go over to Cisco Jabber, I'm going to show you one more thing. Remember the connection status page that we looked at? Show connection status under the help menu. Let me open that back up again, and you'll see voicemail says connected. Address cucpub.cisco.lab, port 443, protocol VM REST. So that's it. It's done. It's working, and I'm really, really happy because, like I said before, I love, love, love visual voicemail. I just think it's the coolest thing. In this module, we talked about the visual voicemail feature and how awesome I think that it is. Hopefully, you'll find that it is useful when deployed in your organization. I certainly find that when I show it to people, they really love it. And I'm kind of guilty, or I feel kind of guilty, that the first few Jabber deployments that I did when they introduced this feature, I didn't turn it on. I almost feel like we missed out on something there. But we went through basic configuration steps in Unity Connection for the visual voicemail feature. Again, I showed you how easy this is to set up. Make sure LDAP's set up. Make sure that you turn on the single inbox and IMAP capabilities, and you're golden. This thing will just work for you right out of the box. We've got one module to go. In the next module, we're going to be wrapping up this course and talking about a feature that is more than up and coming, but definitely going to change how we deal with Jabber and presence communication off-premise, or off-premises for those of you grammar police out there. There's certainly been a lot of talk about off-premise versus off-premises out in the industry and in the social media forums, so that's kind of funny. It makes me laugh a little bit. But, to the point, we're going to talk about MRA, mobile and remote access, and how we can extend Jabber capabilities outside the enterprise into the rest of the world. So until then, I'll say thanks for watching. I hope this has been informational and educational and even a little bit fun for you playing with visual voicemail, and I'll see you in the next video.